Hey there, this is Niels Beardfoot, and today we're crafting the Cathedral chest armor from leather. We're using wedge 10 leather here, 3.5mm and 2.5mm. Size and print your pattern and transfer it onto the leather. To get easier into these small corners of the windows and the other cutouts, I use some punches to punch some holes first. This makes cutting everything out so much easier. Next we can bevel the edges, but not all of them, because some are sewn onto another piece along the edge, and on these we don't want to do it yet. There are also quite a few sewing holes required, so we punch them as well. For engravings I also used a laser, and what this effectively does is replace the swivel knife by engraving the lines into the leather. We still moisten everything completely from both sides and let it set for a few minutes. And then we can start using some stamps to stamp it. On some windows it's useful to mark where the outlines of the window are, so we can use that to know where we have to use our punches. From here it's mostly the same with decorations, some laser and some imprints with stamps. Of course we also want to give the armor some rough look, so I use the stone and punch it in, and also use my swivel knife to get some fake cuts in. Once we've did this for all the pieces, we can start dyeing. And here I start with putting on a teal base coat. With an airbrush I also put on some black, and this mostly in a light angle, so I'll create some shadows. With some 1000 grit sandpaper I can remove carefully some of the black dye, so the lighter teal underneath shines more through. Unfortunately this is quite barely visible on the camera. As a finish I like to use a resist. This protects the leather, protects the dye and protects everything from being accidentally dyed by the leather. If you use the resist also on the edges, you can use the moisture to burnish them. This makes them smooth and very nice looking. You also can use some antique gel after the resist dried completely. Put it on and wipe the excess away. This makes everything look even more antique. Then you can seal it with another coat of resist. Next we can start to assemble, and here are all the pieces that we need for the chest. We start with the base and we want to glue and sew on the edges. We're using contact cement here, so it needs some drying time. And while this time we can moisten these lashes. Here we want to put on the D-rings for the shoulder straps. And for the moment we only want to put the D-ring on, which you can see here on the left side. For the moment, not on the right. Just put a rivet in and set it. After about 50 minutes, the contact cement is ready to go, and when you glue it on, it's very important that you get as close to the edge as you can. Next, we can cut the holes all the way through. For the round holes, we want to set rivets, and for the sewing holes, we want to sew it. To get a perfect edge, we want to use some sandpaper to sand the edge, bevel it, re-dye it, and then use some resist on it to burnish it. Other pieces we don't need to even glue on, we can just sew them on. The neck guard, on the other hand, is only with rivets, and for this we have to moisten it completely. Put it in water and let it set for at least half an hour. We got some rivets here now, put them through the hole and one after the other set them. This makes shaping it quite easy. And now we can put on the other D-rings. Next we are doing the window in the chest. For this we want to moisten this in between piece first. And then we flip over the edges towards the flesh side. And this we want to sew on the piece with the angel. Start from the center and then do the one side and then the other. This way you're sure that you're in the center. Now we can press out with the bone folder the piece to a mostly right angle and then also even more flip the other edge over. For the front of the window, we just sew everything together, but keep in mind, we got the outer edge line with the sewing holes left. We want to glue them on now and take care of the edges like we did before. Now we want to sew both pieces together, but we also want to sew the main piece on at the very same time. This is by far the most difficult part of this build. You have to go through 4 layers of leather with the needle, while most of the time you don't have much room, and I took at least 3 hours just for this part. If you start sewing with the right side, for example, this is quite easy, but the left side is neck-breaking. For this sewing you definitely need some kind of pliers. I like to use these needle holder pliers. They are used in operations and they work very well. Note also that we have sewn the bottom line and took care of the edge as well. Next up we are doing the belly, and this is quite easy. You got just 2 layers on both of the parts. You glue them together in this area and then just sew it on and put some rivets in. And yes, we also take care of the edges as well. To shape and harden the pieces to your body, use some hot water, maximum of 50 degrees Celsius. Put them in for 15 to 30 minutes, let them dry for at least 2 hours, and then we can start to shape them. For the belly, it's mostly just make everything round, put it on yourself, make sure it fits. On the chest area, you also want to make sure that the window is looking windowish, make the angles right, and apart from this, it's mostly make everything more round to fit your body. To connect chest and belly pieces, I like to use some backpack straps, but anything with a strong and flexible works here as straps. Cut open a hole for the rivets and then put them in. Note that depending on the thickness of the leather where you put them in, you need different lengths of rivets. For the chest part, it's only a short rivet. For the belly pieces, it's a long rivet. And you put them in and set them. This way the pieces are connected, but they can still move against each other, so when you move, the armor moves with you. If you notice that some part of the armor is not fitting correctly to your body, you can always use some Eva foam to fix that. It pushes the armor a little bit, in this case, away from my body, so it makes it look a little bit better. Here we got the pieces that we need for the back part. We start just as we did with the chest area with the edge pieces. Note that we put it on the sides and the bottom, but for the moment not on the top. Next we can sew the window, and we just do it by layering them and sew them. Now we can also sew this area and then put on the remaining edge. Next is this window piece, as well as the window glass itself. Here we also took care of the edges to make them nice looking. The lower back area is also quite simple, just put these pieces together. On the back we also need some buckle straps. So we create these, put the buckle in, and then place them basically all over the back part. As we did with the front, we also want to moisten and harden the back area. If your sink is as small as mine, you have to put the back piece in multiple steps in. On both pieces you mostly look just for a roundish, the body well-fitting bend. And here we also use these strong, flexible straps. To attach both pieces, we need quite a few straps. And here in this case, I put on pressure buttons on all the ends. This makes it quite easy to get in and out of the armor by myself. But you need quite strong pressure buttons to hold this just while wearing it. At least for the side straps, I really highly recommend it. And moisturizing this part here makes it easier to bend. And now, as final step, we can merge both front and back together. And this is it. The full build of the Cathedral chest armor. I like this piece, but I think I could have make a better design maybe for the belly part. The chest is perfect, the back I think is perfect, but on the belly it's not 100% fitting to the chest I think, but actually I threw over my design multiple times and still wasn't satisfied. I'm not sure I could have found something perfect. Still, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out the pattern in the link down below, as well as my others and my other tutorials. See you guys next time. Have a great day. For everybody that stayed till now, I got a little thing for you. There are actually 3 very small, partly small Easter eggs hidden in this armor. 2 on the front and 1 on the back.